The obsidian surface of the null council chamber reflected the incandescent glow of 1,000 flickering hollow displays, each one a window onto a universe of worry and uncertainty. The air thrummed with a nervous energy, a palpable tension that crackled through the very foundations of the immense chamber, a structure carved from the heart of a dying star. At the apex, seated upon a throne of pure, unblemished shadow, sat Empress Xyler, her form shimmering with an ethereal light that betrayed her internal turmoil. Her antennae, normally erect and proud, drooped slightly, mirroring the despondency that had begun to settle over the entire Xylos empire. Before her, the Null Council, a gathering of the most powerful and influential beings within the galactic order, debated a single, terrifying truth. Humanity had begun to move. The movement itself was not the problem. Galactic powers were constantly shifting, maneuvering, asserting their dominance across the vast tapestry of space. No, it was the scale of the movement that had plunged the galaxy into this abyss of fear. The sensors, normally reliable, were spitting out impossible readings, data streams that defied all known laws of physics and logistics. 1,000, no, the word itself felt inadequate. A multitude of vessels, each one of a size that dwarfed even the largest Xylos battleships, were accelerating toward the galactic core. They moved with a speed that shouldn't be possible, and at a scale that had never been seen before in the known universe. They defy all known projections. The High Strategist, a being whose chitinous armor gleamed with 1,000 years of strategic calculation, stated flatly, his multiple eyes flickering across the hollow displays. Their logistics are a mockery of established principles. The energy signatures, they are unlike anything we have ever encountered. His voice, usually a steady drone of tactical analysis, trembled with a hint of fear. A collective murmur swept through the council. Fear was a universal language, and it was being spoken with brutal clarity in this chamber. The Xylos, a species that had long prided itself on its strategic brilliance and technological superiority, found themselves confronted by something they did not understand, something they could not predict, something that threatened to unravel the very fabric of their carefully constructed order. "Are you suggesting a weapon, strategist?" boomed the voice of the Grand Admiral, his voice reverberating through the chamber. His imposing form, a tapestry of muscle and hardened scales, radiated authority. A weapon of such destructive power that it could destabilize entire star systems. "It is not a weapon as we understand the term, Admiral," the High Strategist replied, his voice regaining its professional tone. "The energy readings suggest a different application, one that defies classification. It is as if they are manipulating the very fabric of spacetime itself." Empress Xyler raised a hand, silencing the ensuing protests. The weight of her crown, the symbolic burden of leadership, pressed down on her. The humans, they had been a footnote in the galactic history books, a nascent species on a backwater planet, primitive, unpredictable, and now they were a cosmic riddle wrapped in an enigma, moving with a purpose that remained utterly opaque. Their contact with the galactic community had been sporadic, their interactions at best confusing. They had offered nothing but an exchange of information and refused to reveal their true intentions. The few attempts at direct communication had resulted in static, followed by silence, and then a slow, inexorable buildup of these unexplainable vessels. "What is the consensus, Council?" she asked, her voice a low, resonant hum. "What action do we take?" The debate raged for hours, a swirling vortex of fear, speculation, and strategic posturing. Some advocated for immediate preemptive strikes, arguing that the humans were an existential threat. Others, more cautious, urged restraint, suggesting that a show of force, a display of the Xylos' might deter them. A third faction, the most cautious of all, pleaded for diplomacy, though they were hard-pressed to explain what form that might take. The humans were an enigma, and no one knew how to speak their language, nor did they understand their customs. The argument swirled, mirroring the internal conflict raging within Empress Xyler herself. The safety of her people, the preservation of the empire she had sworn to protect, depended on her decision. But fear clouded judgment. The unknown, after all, was always the most dangerous opponent. "We have intercepted a transmission," the communications officer, a being with 1,000 eyes and a voice that could mimic any sound, announced suddenly. A hush fell over the chamber. "A transmission from the humans, after weeks of silence?" "Play it," Empress Xyler commanded, her voice steady despite the rapid pounding of her heart. The hollow display flickered, resolving into a static-filled image. A human face, blurred and distorted, appeared on the screen. The image stabilized, and a voice, heavily filtered, began to speak. It was deep, calm, and utterly devoid of emotion. "This is a message to the Galactic Council. We are aware of your observation. Our movement is a response to a threat, one that will not be clear to your understanding, for your understanding is limited. Do not interpret our actions as hostile. We seek only to protect our shared existence. We await your response." The image vanished. The silence that followed was broken only by the hum of the hollow displays. A threat? From whom? The galaxy teemed with warring factions and hostile species, but none had ever posed a threat of this magnitude. What had they seen that the Xylos were blind to? What do they mean by a shared existence? The Grand Admiral demanded, breaking the silence. We are not allies. We have barely even spoken to them. Perhaps we should attempt a more direct communication, the High Strategist suggested cautiously. Perhaps we can learn more about their intentions. Empress Xyler considered the options. 1,000 vessels moving toward the core of the galaxy, a threat they couldn't define, and now a single cryptic message. The situation was desperate and time was running out. She made her decision. "Assemble a delegation," she commanded. "We will attempt to communicate." The journey to the designated coordinates was a tense one. A lone Xylos vessel, escorted by a small squadron of warships, cut through the vast emptiness of space. Inside, the delegation, composed of the Empress, the High Strategist, the Grand Admiral, and a host of specialists, prepared for their encounter with the unknown. They knew little of the humans, save for the few scraps of information gathered from their limited interactions. Their curious obsession with data collection, their peculiar sense of humor, and their unsettling calm. When they arrived at the rendezvous point, the sheer scale of the human presence was almost overwhelming. The 1,000 supercarriers were arrayed in perfect formation, a colossal armada of impossible power. Each vessel, a behemoth of unknown technology, dwarfed the Xylos flagship. It was a display of force that spoke volumes, a silent declaration of potential devastation. The Xylos, accustomed to being the dominant power in the region, felt a sudden tremor of fear at the audacity of it all. A single vessel, even larger than the supercarriers, detached itself from the formation and moved toward the Xylos flagship. The Xylos prepared themselves, anticipating the inevitable. The vessel's hull, a sleek and enigmatic design, opened, revealing a docking bay. The humans were inviting them aboard. Inside the human vessel, the Xylos delegation were led through corridors of minimalist design, illuminated by soft, ambient light. They passed through sterile chambers, filled with advanced technology that was beyond their understanding. The air hummed with a quiet, almost imperceptible energy, a testament to the power that pulsed beneath the surface. Everything was so alien, so precise, so clinical. Finally, they were led into a large conference room where a human awaited them. The being was tall, with a gaunt face and dark, intelligent eyes. It wore a simple, functional uniform and radiated an air of quiet authority. This was their representative, the one who would speak for humanity. "Welcome," the human said, his voice a smooth baritone devoid of any discernible emotion. "I am Commander Alara, the designated liaison for this negotiation." The High Strategist, despite his years of experience and his tactical brilliance, found himself at a loss for words. The encounter was proving to be a challenge. Everything they had expected turned out to be wrong, including the lack of emotion. "We are perplexed by your actions," Empress Xyler stated, choosing her words carefully. "Your fleet, it is an extraordinary display of power, and your message was cryptic. What is the meaning of this?" Commander Alara inclined his head slightly. "We are responding to a threat to all life in this galaxy." "A threat? What threat?" the Grand Admiral demanded, his voice laced with suspicion. "We have detected a disturbance in the galactic core," Alara replied. "An anomaly of unknown origin. It is growing, and it is consuming everything in its path. We believe it poses an existential threat to all sentient life." The room was filled with a nervous energy as the council members considered the implication. The galactic core was a region of immense energy and complexity, but not a region of danger. "Can you provide evidence?" the High Strategist asked, his voice filled with doubt. Alara gestured to a large display screen which flickered to life, showing a complex series of holographic projections. The visuals depicted a swirling vortex of energy, growing with impossible speed, consuming star systems and galaxies like a cosmic Pac-Man. The Xylos, already steeped in terror and trepidation, watched with mounting horror. The threat was real. This is impossible," the Grand Admiral breathed. "It is not impossible," Alara stated. "It is happening. And we are the only ones capable of stopping it." "How?" Empress Xyler asked, her voice barely a whisper. Alara paused for a moment, then began to explain the humans' plan. Their vessels were equipped with technology far beyond anything the Xylos had imagined. They would use this technology to create a massive energy field, a barrier that would contain the anomaly, buying the galaxy time to find a more permanent solution. The process was risky, the chance of failure high, and the implications of failure. Unthinkable, your technology, it is advanced beyond our understanding, the high strategist acknowledged, his voice tinged with a mix of awe and fear. But it seems incredibly dangerous. It is, Alara conceded, but it is our only option. We cannot allow this threat to consume us all. The Xylos delegation exchanged glances. The humans, a species they had underestimated and mistrusted, were offering to save them. It was a humbling experience, a stark reminder of the limitations of their own understanding. We will offer our support, Empress Xyler declared. We will provide our resources, our knowledge, and our ships to assist in this endeavor. Alara nodded. Your assistance is appreciated, but be warned, this will be a sacrifice. Many will be lost. The next few months were a whirlwind of activity. The Xylos, abandoning their usual caution, poured their resources into the human project. They shared their knowledge, provided their ships, and worked tirelessly alongside the humans. The alliance, forged in the crucible of impending doom, was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a sign of its potential for unimaginable destruction and cooperation. As the day of the operation approached, the tension in the space around the galactic core was almost unbearable. The human fleet, augmented by the Xylos and several other species who had joined the coalition, took up their positions around the swirling vortex of energy. The air crackled with anticipation and the silent understanding of what they were about to attempt. On the bridge of the human flagship, Commander Alara watched the swirling vortex on the main screen, its tendrils reaching out, consuming everything in their path. Around her, her crew worked with quiet efficiency, their faces grim, their eyes reflecting the vast, terrifying scope of what they were attempting to do. Initiating the containment field, Alara announced, her voice calm and steady. A massive surge of energy erupted from the human supercarriers, forming a shimmering barrier around the anomaly. The energy field held, the vortex of energy struggling against it. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. For days, the battle raged. The containment field held, but it was being pushed to its limits. The energy signature of the anomaly grew in intensity, and the human fleet began to take casualties. Ships exploded, and the void was filled with the debris of 1,000 destroyed vessels. Then disaster struck. The containment field faltered, a breach forming in its center. The anomaly, with a deafening roar, began to break through. "The field is collapsing," the ship's tactical officer cried. "We cannot hold it." Alara knew the risks. It was now or never. "All ships prepare for Phase 2, Alara commanded, her voice ringing with grim determination. "Focus all energy on the breach. Maintain the integrity of the field." The remaining human vessels and the few Xylos ships that remained poured all their energy into the breach. The battle became a maelstrom of destruction, with the human fleet facing down certain annihilation. With a final, desperate push, they managed to close the breach. The containment field reformed, holding the anomaly at bay. The cost, however, was immense. The human fleet was decimated and many Xylos ships were destroyed. But the galaxy was saved. After the battle, the survivors gathered to assess the damage. The human fleet, once a symbol of immense power, was reduced to a handful of functional vessels. The Xylos, too, had suffered significant losses. But as the Council began to survey the aftermath, a new, even more terrifying truth began to emerge. "The anomaly, it has not dissipated," the High Strategist announced. The display screens flickered to life, showing the swirling vortex of energy still churning at the galactic core. The containment field was holding, but the anomaly was not shrinking, not diminishing. "It is stable," Alara said, her voice filled with a mixture of confusion and dread. "But it's not going anywhere." The Xylos delegation exchanged stunned glances. The humans had risked everything to contain the anomaly, and they had succeeded. But what they had contained was still there, a ticking time bomb at the heart of the galaxy, the dark secret they were tasked with protecting. "This changes everything," the Grand Admiral stated, his voice heavy with the weight of the new reality. "Indeed," Empress Xyler agreed. "We must work together to find a permanent solution, but first we must understand what we are dealing with." A new wave of research and investigation began. The humans and the Xylos, along with the other species that had joined their alliance, dedicated their resources to studying the anomaly. They delved into the unknown, using the data collected before, during, and after the battle to look for answers to the impossible. The more they learned, the more they realized the true horror of their situation. They discovered that the anomaly wasn't a natural phenomenon. It was something artificial. A construct designed by an unknown intelligence. Furthermore, the anomaly was not merely a threat to the galaxy. It was a trap, a mechanism designed to lure in unsuspecting civilizations. Why? The High Strategist wondered aloud. What could be the purpose of such a thing? The human scientists, working with the Xylos strategists, discovered the purpose of the trap by analyzing the energy signatures of the anomaly. The vortex was a cosmic beacon, a signal designed to attract the attention of advanced civilizations. Once drawn in, these civilizations would be captured, their resources exploited, and their knowledge used for what? The question hung over them like a shroud. But soon they had their answer. They had been sent the response to the cosmic signal by analyzing the data that they collected from the aftermath. It was a message, broadcast on a frequency that was undetectable until a civilization possessed the technology to respond to the trap. The message contained a single word repeated endlessly: prepare. Prepare for what? The Grand Admiral demanded, his voice echoing in the chamber. We do not know, Alara answered, but the message implies a threat even greater than the anomaly itself. What is the origin of the message? The High Strategist inquired. That is the question that we have been trying to answer, Alara stated. The signal is coming from another galaxy. The revelation sent a wave of shock through the room. Another galaxy, what waited for them there? The implications were staggering. The trap, the anomaly, the message, all pointed to a threat of cosmic proportions. They were facing something far beyond their wildest imaginings, a threat that extended beyond the borders of their own galaxy. The humans had not just protected their galaxy. They had protected them from the next unseen coming peril. Empress Xyler took a deep breath, her mind racing. The humans had moved with calm, calculated precision, knowing they were the only ones that could save the known galaxy from the anomaly. And now they would be thrust into a war against an alien power in a faraway galaxy, something she could not conceive of. We must prepare, Empress Xyler declared. We must prepare for the unknown. We will marshal our forces. We will forge alliances. We will face this threat, whatever it may be. For the survival of our galaxy, we will not fail. The humans have already begun their preparations, the High Strategist said. It seems they anticipated this outcome. Alara looked up and nodded solemnly. We have been anticipating this outcome, and we are ready. The human representative then revealed a new piece of information. The supercarriers, the same ships that had been the focus of their initial apprehension, were not weapons of destruction. They were, in fact, advanced mobile research stations, capable of interstellar travel at near-light speeds. Each one, equipped with the technology to make interstellar journeys, would carry scientists and engineers who were the best that humanity had to offer. Where are they going? The Grand Admiral asked. To the source of the message, Alara replied. To the other galaxy, to find out what awaits us. The implication was clear. Humanity, the species they had once underestimated, was taking the lead. They had borne the brunt of the battle against the anomaly, and now they were preparing to face an even greater threat. They were opening the door to the unknown, charting a course into the darkness, and the Xylos Empire would follow. Empress Xyler looked at the hollow displays, which showed the human supercarriers already beginning their journey. 1,000 vessels, each a symbol of human resolve, each one a testament to their unwavering spirit. The humans, she said, her voice filled with a mixture of awe and respect. They are more than we ever imagined. They are the hope of the galaxy. As the Xylos began their own preparations, they knew one thing: their galaxy's fate was intertwined with that of humanity. They were not just allies, they were partners in a desperate struggle for survival, a war that would determine the fate of all sentient life. The final image, as the camera swept away from the galactic core, showed the human supercarriers moving in formation, a vast fleet of hope and defiance, disappearing into the darkness of interstellar space. They were leaving to face an unknown enemy, and by their actions they had made all the difference. The fate of the galaxy, the safety of all its inhabitants, rested on the shoulders of these intrepid explorers, the calm and ethical humans who had shown the galaxy how to stand against the dark and how to win. The future had arrived.